As you're being led through this horror show, Bern, you feel a hand on your shoulder. A cold, bony hand.
I had been lost in thought for a little while, feeling like I was eating up my own words, remembering scenes from the war of people walking aimlessly after a grenade has struck, someone having lost their arm but being too shocked to understand it and just walking. And I remember the horrors that people have seen. And having said what I said about that everyone who end up behind bars deserve it, I give a little jolt when I feel that hand. I drew after breath and I turned around slowly, half present.
A very short, very thin, malnourished elderly man who is not wearing a shirt for some reason, with marks all over his body, not from bruises, but signs. Weird signs that you haven't seen before. His long, wild, white hair covering his entire back looks up at you with these almost icy blue eyes, almost as so blue that they look completely white. He stares into your eyes, and it's almost as if the world stops for a moment. Like it's just you and him. You forget the smell, you forget the sounds, you forget the nurse, you forget everyone else. It's just you and him. And he slowly raises one of his fingers to his lips and says, "Shh. The mountains are listening. They know where you hide."
And I'm just taken by this moment with this man. I just stare at him. The mountains.
You don't really get to say anymore before a nurse quickly pulls him away. "No, you can't do that. Come over here. You haven't eaten your lunch yet." And she leads the elderly man back, and you slowly come back to where you were just before. The smell hits you again, the sounds hit you again, and you realize you're quite a few feet behind the others now.
I turn back towards the others and hesitate and look at him again. And I look at those symbols. Something just urges me to put them in my memory somewhere. And then I look back towards the others, and for some reason I start thinking of my wife. What if she is ended up in a place like this? It's a strange thought. And I try to shake it, and I hurry my steps to catch up with the others.
You soon reach one of the many sleeping chambers here, and it's not really much of a sleeping chamber, more than a room just full of metal beds with very dingy looking mattresses, if any mattress really. Some of them are just lying on the floor. Some of them have been ripped open. Some of them are on the floor with patients on top of them. Just some are sitting with their knees pulled to their chest, looking towards the ground, swaying back and forth. Again, another way of self-stimulation in a place with no stimulation at all. It's clear that the patients that you saw in the garden are indeed the best patients, but all of the patients that need a little more help have been pushed in the background for whatever reason. The nurse stops. "Well, I'm sorry that you have to see this. I'm not particularly proud of the working conditions and the way we treat the patients here. I shouldn't be telling you about this. Dean is over in the corner, and she points towards the very, very corner of the sleeping hall where there's actually a few windows. There is a slender looking guy sitting on the bed. Black hair. He's just sitting there. He has his face turned towards the window, bathing him in a bit of sunlight. And please don't do anything to him. He's been through a lot. He's been through quite a lot.
Of course, we understand, but... And I lower my voice a little as I speak to this nurse. But how can the conditions be like this? This is supposed to be a new facility. This is... where are the staff? There should be more of you here to help the people. Are they not washed? Why are they allowing them to destroy beds? It's very strange.
We're doing our best. We don't get funding for this part of the hospital. We are really doing our best, and I don't particularly like it either. This is not what I agreed to when I swore to help other people. She looks down almost in shame. Dean has been through a lot. I care for him. I'm not supposed to say this, but perhaps even more so than any of the other patients. Ever since he lost his fiancée, he's just been nuts. Completely out of it.
Sorry to pry, but fiancé?
What happened to her?
Oh, she became very ill while he was gone. Oh, you haven't heard of this? I thought people in Hawken knew everything about each other.
Their family tend to stick away from the rest of us, unfortunately.
I understand. Well, yes, he lost his fiancée. He came home from the war, and despite his, well, the things he might have gone through in the war, he seemed okay up until he realized that, she passed away. And then he completely lost himself.
Again, forgive me for asking, but if you're so familiar with Dean, would you maybe be aware of the things he was brought in with? Did he have any personal belongings that needed to be confiscated, like maybe a photo?
I believe we have the things that he came in with. Is there anything you're particularly looking for?
Look to the others, and then looking at this nurse, who I feel pity for. She seems at least more reasonable than that doctor. I slowly remove the photo and just show it to her. We believe this photo belongs to Dean.
Well, he must have lost it, I suppose. I don't know who she is in that photo, and if it's Dean's.
It's his sister.
Oh, now that you're saying it, yeah, she's been here a few times to visit Dean. I actually recognize her now.
I kind of frown a little, put the photo away, and then just look to the others.
I'm not surprised. I think many people in war times, thinking of those they love are one of the few things that keep them sane. I look over to Owen.
It's true. Writing to my wife all those times, that's what kept me going, knowing that she was back home and safe.
Well, I have to go now. I have to prepare activities.
Of course. Sorry, we'll call you if we need you. What was your name again?
I'm Ria.
Ria. One last thing, Ria, before you go. And I know this may seem like a strange question, so I do apologise, but I got to ask. You've described Dean as largely being, well, he's not doesn't speak, doesn't move around much.
He mumbles.
Do you know if anyone here at the facility has been able to get him moving? and speaking more than anyone else? Anyone who, any doctor that's really got through to him, or maybe you as his primary caregiver managed to elicit a better response for him. It's a funny thing. I know it may sound silly, but there were some people saying they thought they saw him around town, and I'm guessing that's just foolishness. The reason I'm dropping this in is to see whether she reacts in a way. I'm wondering if she helped him get out, because somehow he got out of this place. So I'm trying to read her reactions.
So why don't you... Do you have any in psychoanalysis?
I've got psychology. I have 79 in psychology. I'm not trying to analyze her. I'm just trying to get a read on her, basically.
Okay, well, you can make a psychology roll.
Okay. Well, I shouldn't fail this, he says, rolling an 85, so I will spend 6 luck points, and I will succeed.
She seems pretty genuine. She doesn't seem like... It doesn't seem to be any kind of reaction when you say that. Well, I suppose I'm the only one that can get him to get up and take a bath once in a while. He does seem to mumble a bit more around me, but I'm not sure what he's saying, and I'm not sure if it's me. I do really have to go now. I apologize. I don't have time. And she starts walking away.
I nod and I watch her go. And then I look over to Dean, who is sitting still. I look at the others and I nod at them to go over, at least Owen and Richard, and then I will start walking around the place a little bit, looking for any signs of outbreak, any signs of someone being able to get out of the place, essentially.
I would like to say when you turn to look at the others, you don't see Carwin. Because if left to my own devices and able to duck out of people's fields of view, the curiosity of this place combined with the weirdness and the discomfort, I would have liked to have snuck away while you were speaking with the nurse and approached Dean.
Okay.
I can roll if you'd like to see if I was noticed, but...
What do you want to be unnoticed?
I would love to be unnoticed. I would like them to be able to speak to the nurse without me drawing attention.
Okay, I want you to make a stealth roll.
62 under 70.
Well, you managed to do that. They are very attentive to the nurse, and they are fully focused on getting whatever information they can get out of her. They know that she's busy, and they know that she can be a key person to knowing a little bit more about who Dean is. So you managed to slowly disappear behind them and walk towards Dean, who's sitting on his bed still. He has his hands folded in his lap. He actually looks pretty neat compared to all of the other patients here. He looks well fed. He looks washed. His shirt even looks pressed. It's a little bit weird. His bed is immaculate. And he's just sitting there.
I'm approaching the same way that you do a scared animal. Like, careful steps, hands out, a little non-threatening. I don't even know if he's lucid. But just with an abundance of care, closing that distance until I end up at the bedside. He's on a bed, right?
He's sitting on his bed.
Maybe a foot away from him. I'll start just quietly... Dean? Dean, you there, Dean?
He does not react to you at all.
If I wave a hand slowly in front of his eyes?
Nothing happens. He's just sitting there.
If I look over him, are there any wounds to his hands? like he'd been climbing is where I want to start, but I'm looking for evidence that there are bed sores and the kind of injuries and bruises that come with being inside a facility, but there are also those that come with outside adventuring. Do I see any of that?
Well, you do see, now that you're looking at his hands, he's definitely clasping something in them. He's not just folding them, he has something in his hands.
So squinting down at his fingers, can I make out, is it a piece of paper or it's like a totem that someone would have, a chain or a rosary? Can I get a sense of it?
You can't really see what it is. You can't see anything sticking out from his fingers, anything hanging from his hands. He's just clasping onto something almost white-knuckled.
So again, with an abundance of hesitation, moving as carefully as if I were handling explosives in the mine, I'm reaching forward with my hands, my eyes locked with his, seeing if he notices, and then just as gently as I am capable of, placing my fingers on top of his, and I'll wait that moment to see if there's a reaction. And if not, I want to see if I can peel them apart and see what he's holding.
Almost like a doll. Dean does not move, flinch, notice you. He doesn't even seem to exist in the same realm as you do right now. His hands are icy cold, almost kind of waxy, like that of a dead person. It's quite odd. He doesn't do anything. He lets you put your hands on his.
Am I able to manipulate his grasp and unclench it?
See, that is difficult, because he is white-knuckling whatever he has in his hands, so you would have to use some force to do that. Do you want to do that?
I hesitate first. I'm speaking to him just by reflex. Hey, Dean, I'm just gonna see what you've got in your hands, all right, buddy? Just real quick here, and then I'll start to, not ramping up to immediate large amounts of force, but the same way you'd open up a jar of something. Start small and then keep wrenching until it either works or doesn't.
You can't get his hands open right now, and the more force you use, the more attention you're going to draw to yourself.
I will... Oh, I hate the idea of giving up, but I'm also still terrified that if I cause trouble, that doctor's going to burst in and say, look, there's one of them, and then I'll be stuck here. So I'll give in for now, and then backing up just a few inches, is there anything that I'm seeing under the bed or around in a pocket, maybe taking a broader look at the situation before I give in for good?
Are you looking under the bed, you say?
Yes, I under the bed, between the bed and the mattress, maybe whatever parts of the mattress I can see, if there's maybe a cut that something's been stuffed in, all the kinds of place that a mischievous child would hold something. I have a pretty big list being a mischievous child, so I'm running through my own checklist, essentially.
Well, under the bed you see a bundle of carpet, or like a blanket.
Does it look like any... I haven't seen something like this before on the tour, right?
No.
Well, this is interesting. So, making a quick glance over my shoulder to see if the conversation is still going, if it looks like Owen is still keeping her busy.
You can see that the conversation is finishing up, and it looks like they're slowly coming towards Dean.
Alright. In that case, I don't want to get caught with my hand in the proverbial cookie jar. I will bring this to attention when they arrive.
Okay, well, everyone else arrives at Dean's bedside. You see the same thing as Cowan sees. A young, healthy-looking guy, but with a very lost look in his eyes. Clenching something in his fist, looking out the window.
I sigh a little and notice also that Byrne has gone off to investigate the area, but I suppose that's what Byrne does. I kind of blink a little as I notice Karin already closer to Dean than I thought he was, but for the moment I'll just look to Owen and whisper, "If you think the picture could help, just let me know and I'll give it to you, but maybe this is time for your words again. I don't know if I don't know what I'd say.
I've tried everything. I said his name. At the hand in front of it, he's gone. If there's someone in there, I didn't. And I just shrug.
I'll do my best. And if my best doesn't quite cut it, I think that, we're going to have to start dropping in bits and pieces from the community, and then, yes, we'll resort to that photograph and see what happens. I take a seat opposite him, if possible. Dean. It's Reverend Jenkins. Don't know if you remember me from when you were younger. My friends and I have come to visit you because, your ma and pa are very worried about you. We all are. All of us in Halkin, we're all very worried about how you're getting on. I know the war has shaken a lot of us up. Certainly made a lot of us retreat inside ourselves. So you're not alone. I want to let you know that. And if there's anything you want to talk about, any of the things you went through, you can tell us knowing that you're talking to friends and not just doctors who are trying to get into your head. Everything I'm saying, I'm watching him closely. I'm trying to see if there's any reaction. Has there been anything so far?
No, nothing at all.
So, reason we came here today is because, there's some trouble in Halkin. Something's gone wrong. Some bad stuff. Some poor little children have been taken, kidnapped, they say, abducted, and no one knows where they are. And, there's a few people who think that you might know something about that.
When you mentioned the children, you do see a quick eye movement from Dean as he stares at you, just for a brief second, until you lose him again.
I will start telling him about the room, what we found there, that it was a terrible, terrible state of affairs. 2 of the children went missing from the same room. They were upstairs, but there was a piece of rope down at the bottom. They've even found a footprint, and they were able to trace it to a military-issue boot. I'm sure you know the kind. We were all wearing them for the last 5 years or so. Doesn't look like anyone was done any harm. There was no blood or anything like that. But they were just gone out of their beds, and nothing there but this army boot print and length of cut rope. Again, seeing if there's any kind of reaction.
He doesn't seem to react now.
And I guess the clue that leads us to you, Dean, I'm going to gesture for Richard to come over, is a photograph that was found.
I come over slowly. I've been watching Dean the whole time as well, wondering what could be said. It does seem strange. If he really is like this, then I have to admit the doctor is right. He can't be our man. Yet it doesn't explain some of the stuff we found. So I'll look at Owen and Karen and gingerly reach into my pocket once again and just take the photo out and sort of sit near Owen, showing Dean the photo, and I'll say, Laurie is really worried about you, you know?
He looks at the photo and looks up at you and looks at the photo again and slowly reaches his hand out towards the photo. He doesn't take it, but he just reaches his hand out.
I move the photo into his hand and I say, Dean, does the photo belong to you?
Laurie?
Yes, that's right. Did Laurie give you this photo? You can just nod your head.
He doesn't react. He just caresses it. Gets a frown on his forehead. Knapke. Knapke. He says, a word that doesn't really make sense to you. Knapke. What does that mean?
I repeat it. Gnobke?
Knapke.
Gnobke. What does that mean, Dean? Should we know what it means? You can tell us. We're friends. It's me, Richard. I think we used to play together. Long time ago.
He doesn't react.
I kind of wrinkle my nose and then look to Owen.
Well, that's something. That's very helpful, Dean. We appreciate it. I assume he is in... he's in patient's scrubs, essentially, or is he in his normal clothing?
He is sitting... He's wearing patient scrubs, but they are very clean compared to all of the other patients. You can't really tell if it's because he's only been here for a couple of weeks or what it's about.
I say to Richard and Carwin, I would very much like a chance to see where he keeps his stuff, unless that's where Byrne has gone off to.
Well, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Does he even have a place to... Do any of the patients, I mean, like I said, normally in a standard hospital, your belongings would, be placed somewhere safe.
At this point, I cough a little bit and gently kick the roll of carpet out from under the bed. Just a little bit. To get their attention.
I look to Karin.
I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to touch it or anything like that. I mean, you're the doctor. I don't know the rules.
Oh, just get down and have a look at it. I don't think we've got much time.
Fine. And I'll pull it the rest of the way out from under the bed and start to unpack it or unroll it.
As you unroll it, you see a roll of rope appear with a frayed end.
Oh. Well then.
What's this, Dean?
Okay.
I look down at this point at Dean's shoes. What shoes is he wearing, if any?
He's not wearing any shoes. He's barefooted.
I attempt to lean over at this point and take back the photo, if he allows me.
He does.
Owen, something's not making sense here.
Oh, no, really?
Well, yes, I mean, again, like, the evidence, of course, but how? He... unless he suddenly came to his senses and walked out the... At that point, I start looking around and probably have a similar idea to Byrne, but maybe Byrne has already discovered something.
Byrne, where have you gone?
I have started walking around, first in this room and looking at the windows, and if I don't find anything here, then I'll tour as far as I feel I can go without someone intercepting me, looking at signs of someone breaking out of the place.
Well, you do notice that every single window has a lock. Every single one of them has a lock.
Has any of them... Does it look that they've been opened recently, or...
Little difficult to tell. Why don't you make... why don't you make a spot hidden roll?
Let's see, that's 67 over 60, but if a normal success will succeed, I will use 7 luck points to bring it down to 60.
Okay. You do notice as you're nearing one of the windows, Dean's bed is near, that there is some fingerprints, some dirty fingerprints on one of the locks. You didn't really notice that on any of the other locks.
I lean forward and I look at the lock where the key would go in, keyhole that is, trying to figure out then if it's chafed.
It is.
Then I listen on a bit to the conversation, look down at the others, and I say, Well, this window has been opened fairly recently, if I can tell anything from it. And I look him over like I'm tilting my head. He could have a key on him somewhere. I see his hands tightening over something. What's that in your hand, Dean?
He doesn't reply.
You can have this photograph, Dean, if we get what you have in your hands.
It's at this point that I catch Burns' gaze looking over to the window that he's by, and then look back at Dean, and then I look to Karen, and I sound a bit guilty as I say, Karen, do you think you could get him to open his hand? Do it quickly. Quickly. We need to see what's in his hand.
There's a bit of hesitation, but now with Richard's urgency and Owen having appeared to lose a bit of his patience, Carwin folds, and I'll reach forward, really sink my fingers in between his, and then with my own knuckles tensing up, see if I can pry this apart.
Okay, well, I think that's just pure force. You just make a strength roll. I will make a roll too.
16 under 80, that is an extreme success.
It takes you almost nothing to pry open Dean's hands. And as soon as you do that, a key falls to the ground. For the first time, it looks like Dean is actually reacting. He bends down and tries to snatch the key.
I'm a bit surprised as too much force. I meant to catch it in my hands, but I guess the overexertion has caused it to pop free. So I'm looking down past my feet to see where it clattered.
It's right between his feet. Are you gonna try and take it?
I'm gonna get there before he can. Would you like dexterity?
Yeah, let's take a dexterity roll. I'll make a roll too.
27 under 55.
You snatch the key, and he looks up at you. He doesn't say anything, but there is a certain desperation in his eyes suddenly.
Dylan Clark. Nesta Clark. Where are they, Dean?
Okay.
Where is that? Where is Nabke? Can you point?
Dean turns his head towards the window again. He lifts a finger, and he points out the window.
We need to search the area outside of here. Maybe any tracks that he left behind. I look to the rest of you.
I go to the window now to actually stand very close and look out the window. What even is in that direction?
You've been inside the hospital for such a long time that darkness is actually starting to fall. You didn't even realize that so many hours had passed since you entered. And in the distance you see a light from the mountains.
I squint a little because I want to figure out where the light's coming from. I actually go up to the window and I assume it's barred. I just hold onto the bars and try and see what's that light. Is that... I don't remember anywhere in Halkin that would have a light like this.
It's a kind of cold blue light that glimpses and then disappears, and then it comes again, disappears. There's no regularity to it. There's no rhythm to it. It seems to appear and disappear in almost like a pulsing manner.
Do I have any idea? Is it coming from behind something? Is it coming from a building?
You cannot tell. You can just tell that it's far away.
Huh. I kind of just remark to Burn. Burn, look at that light. Do you see that? It's an awfully strange pulsing blue light.
I squint. I look out and I squint. This is something that's been reported to the police. Blue lights from the mountains.
Yes, that's what Esther was talking about as well.
It's the first I've heard of it. How strange, but where... Oh, it's too dark. At this point, I turn and I begin calling out aloud for Nurse Rhea. Miss Rhea? Nurse Rhea! Nurse Rhea!
Shiver goes up my spine as I look at the mountains and I see the lights, and I think of that white-haired man and what he said about the mountains hearing. And I find myself with my nose pressed against the window and my hands on the side of it, looking out at those lights.
A little while after Nurse Rhea appears, she has a bundle of blankets in her arms, and she walks over to you quickly. Can I help you? Did something happen?
Yes. I'm afraid we have some rather unpleasant news. I look to Karen and I say, Karen, would you show Nurse Rhea that key?
Up until this point, I was almost ready to just squirrel it away, but having attention called to it, I will turn to her, pulling my hand out of my pocket where I was attempting to sequester it, and then just hold it out, palm open.
I'm afraid, Miss Rhea, I'm afraid to ask, but is this a key that should be in the possession of one of the staff members here? Does this open that window?
That is one of our window keys. We've been missing that one.
And there's also this, I say, and I point at the frayed rope on the floor.
She lifts her hand to her mouth in shock. Where did you find this?
It was in his hands. I had to pry it out.
In Dean's?
Just now.
Oh my god. Well...
Does the word Gnabke mean anything to you? We have gotten him to talk, despite what you said, but that is all he says.
Yeah, it's all he says. He said it many times before. I don't know what it means.
Miss Rhea, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but him having that key and us finding the rope under the bed, it's looking more and more likely that somehow Dean has escaped from the premise.
That's impossible. He can barely walk by himself. How in the world is he supposed to escape from... We're on the 3rd floor. He can barely walk. That makes no sense.
Unless... I kind of pause for a moment. I look back at Dean, and then I look back to Nurse Rhea. Who else would have access to keys and boots and personal effects of a patient?
I don't know. The only people that I hear is the staff and the other patients. And I know... Well, I guess I don't know for sure, but I don't believe that Dean has left this facility. At least... Well, we don't really keep an eye on them all the time. You know, we're horribly understaffed, and we can't keep an eye on every single patient here.
We can see that. We have had reports from Halkin of seeing him and seeing him run away with a piece of rope from one of the local stores. That was 2 weeks ago, and he's supposedly been here 3 weeks, so...
He's been here at our facility for 3 weeks. That makes no sense. And he's been like this ever since he came here.
Well, maybe this key is better off in your possession.
Oh yes, please hand it over. And she reaches for the key.
I'm willing to give it to her, but first I'm checking in just visually with Byrne, with Richard, with Owen. I don't want to appear uncooperative, but at the same time, if this is something that we think we need... So I'll take my time, in case someone wants to interrupt, but otherwise, I'll just turn my hand over and deposit it in hers.
Thank you.
I just nod, and then I look to Owen as I say, Owen, I'm not sure how to proceed here. I mean, in one way, I don't know if we're going to get anything else out of Dean. Do we even need to? Maybe we just need to go back to the village, tell them what we found, and then, as Byrne says, get the search parties in this direction.
Well, I think that's the first thing we can do. He's clearly not speaking to us. If he has these moments of lucidity where he can walk around freely and think freely, this isn't one of them, and I don't know how to set one in motion. And clearly Nurse Rhea here doesn't know, so yes, I think we need to get out of here now and head back to town. We've learned something.
As I look between Owen and then Rhea, I actually lean towards Owen and just very quietly whisper, I know it sounds a strange thing to say, but should we just leave now, or should we actually tell Rhea to inform the doctor himself? Normally I wouldn't even question that. For some reason, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do.
The less we have to do with that doctor, the happier I'll be.
I'm nodding in obvious agreement. Richard, there's nothing good about that man that will come of anything of this. The sooner we get out of here, the better for me. We just need to leave.
My mind is divided because part of me thinks that of course you should inform the head of the facility that one of his patients has indeed escaped. He might even be more helpful. He's a doctor after all. But then, yes, there is doubt for some reason, and hearing Owen and Karen agree, I kind of just nod, and I say, Miss Rhea, I think we've been here long enough. We're sorry for bothering Dean and yourself, but I think we have everything we can get, and you're right, we just need to leave Dean here. We have other things to be doing.
I'm sure you do. Well, can I ask you for a favor?
Of course.
Please don't tell the town about the conditions here. It will come out soon enough, but if they know how their family is being treated here, I don't know what will happen. Please.
I'm not entirely sure what to say. I agree that maybe we can agree for the moment there's more important things to be focusing on. We're looking for lost children.
Thank you. If I hear anything, I will be sure to let you know.
Oh, thank you, Miss Rhea. And I nod, and again, I admit I hadn't even been thinking of that angle, but I feel a bit weird now I've been told to be quiet about what's going on here. But for now, I'll just put it out of my head and look to the others and say, all right, let's be going then. I didn't realize it was so late.
Yes, I suppose we've been here for quite a while. Let's get going. I stand up. I give Dean a gentle pat on the shoulder, not expecting any kind of response. I thank Rhea and make the most direct exit to the front doors I can find, because sticking around in this place is not going to be good for our health.
There's one final thing I do actually, as I remember. I quickly just grab Nurse Rhea and say, oh wait, one more thing. The window over there, where exactly are we? Do you know where that is facing, this window?
Well, this is facing the forest.
The forest?
Yes, and the forest trails lead up into the mountains.
Right. The forests that lead up to the mountains. Oh, I didn't realize we were facing that way. Thank you. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Nurse Rhea. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. You exit the psychopathic hospital like you just exited a jail. The cold night air hits your nostrils and fills you with renewed energy. It's like you escaped from one of the levels of hell. Everything has been such a surreal experience today. You never knew that a place like this was hiding just a mile outside of Hawken. And now you've met Dean, the person you've been searching for such a long time. And he is not in the same realm as you are. everything is just getting weirder and weirder in the town of Halkan.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role Playing, where we played the campaign The Whispers of the Mountains for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. The Whispers of the Mountains was written by Clara Herbal, who was also our keeper. We were joined by Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games, and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music is from the Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep, Jog-Sothoth, Shub-Niggurath, and Asathoth compilations by our friends at Cryochamber, and the Paleo Wolf album Genesis. Check them all out at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Ludwig Manford, Bob Lange, Julián, and Cameron for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cultivated Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening. And remember, that is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons, even death may die.